Greetings. So our boys interviewing some baddies on the cost of living in Seoul, Korea. Big K-pop central. Let's check it out.
Live in Seoul.
Pretty inexpensive house. Now I'm in China Airbnb. I'm spending like 5,000 for 1 month.
Like just to live every day, maybe work 5 days a week, a 9 to 5, you probably need like 3 to 4 thousand.
How much you pay for dorm?
$4,000.
Where are you from and how long have you been in Korea?
I'm from Italy. I've been here like 20 days. Yeah.
And how has that 20-day experience been for you so far?
It's pretty good, but a little bit stressful. Like because of school, I study Korean language, so it's pretty difficult to adapt in Seoul life because it's always like run, always.
How expensive do you think living in Seoul is?
I think it's pretty expensive, yeah, because of house and if you go out always and eat outside like barbecue or.
I don't know anything about Korea outside of K-pop, as bad as that is, and the few shows that I've watched that have come out of space. I also read manhwas, which I'm pretty sure is Korean comics. But outside of that, I really don't know that much about Korea. But I didn't assume that it was a super expensive place. I knew it's a very modern country. Let's see what expensive is to them, though.
Restaurant like this, yeah, you can spend a lot of money. But if you eat like me, sometimes I go in market, yeah, and it's just cheap food, snack, yeah, you can afford it well.
Can you give me like your price breakdown like per week, how much you spend?
On transportation, zero because I go by walk, yeah. But food, I spend a lot of money with food. Like I think at week now 80 euro house. Now I'm in China Airbnb. I'm spending like 5,000 for 1 month.
5,000 euro.
5,000? Yeah, no 500. 500.
Oh,
500. Sorry.
Compared like to back home like Italy, like how much you spend on food, transport and all that?
With food, yeah, we spend a lot too because it depends. If you cook at home, like. You don't spend that much, but if you go to eat in a restaurant, I think it's more expensive than here. I think cook at home here is pretty expensive because if I can't cook Korean, so I have to cook Italian, and buy Italian food is expensive.
So how much you spend on groceries?
If I have to cook like pasta, I can spend like maybe 5 euros. In Italy, I spend like pasta, I can spend like.
come on!
€2.
She's saying that like she's gotta eat Italian food. Come on, she's saying that like she can't use some Korean ingredients to create a new version of spaghetti. Those Italians, man. I mean, their attachment to their food.
Maybe. Because the pasta is like €1, tomato is like €1, so.
You said you were learning
No
Korean
ratio.
right now. 이름이 뭐예요?
저는 베네딕타입니다.
Where are you from and how long have you been in Korea?
I'm from New York. I've been in Korea for 1 week now.
And how has that experience been for you so far?
Korea is like definitely a crazy, fun country. Definitely one of a kind. Definitely one of my favorite trips I've ever been on. I'd highly recommend it to anyone thinking about going to Korea.
How expensive is it to live in Seoul?
All right, so I've actually been traveling Asia for about a month. So compared to the other Asian countries, it's a little more expensive. But compared to New York, to my fellow New Yorkers, to my Americans, to some of the more expensive cities in the world, I think it's definitely a little bit cheaper. Getting around is super cheap. Living here, I got some of the nicest Airbnbs for about $50 to $70 a day. So I think that's pretty good on the USD end. And think about it, if you want to stay for a month, I get a nice place for about a month. You probably wouldn't have to spend more than like $1,000 to $1,500. So I think as a New Yorker, it's cheap, but I can understand why other people might think it's expensive.
Can you give me like your price breakdown like for the past week?
That New York's perspective is a little jacked up, right? Here's the thing: Korea is a very unique and special experience in terms of like economic advantages or opportunities. I don't know unless you're trying to go become a K-pop star. Then again, I'm very ignorant on the country. Maybe I have to watch some more videos. Maybe we'll watch some more videos and I'll become educated on like what's really going on in Korea. But in terms of like being in Asia and going to an Asian country and saving money or spending money, it sounds immediately like the cost of living here is a lot more than other Asian countries. The Philippines, Thailand, of course, Asia is an awfully large continent. I'm not about to name all of them. But those two, right, the hot tourist destinations, those are going to be way more affordable. I don't know what the big pull to going to Korea is if it's this much.
So my price breakdown,
US
I've been spending
prices.
about $75 a day on Airbnb, sometimes cheaper, sometimes more expensive. A good example is yesterday I spent $100, tomorrow I'm spending $32 at Airbnb. Seoul's a great city to move around in, so I've been staying in different areas every day. I spent my first 3 days in Gangnam, that was about $75 a day. I spent 3 days in Seongsu, I hope I'm saying it right. My Korean is not the best. I spent about 3 days in Seongsu, that was about $60 a day. And my last 3 days are here in Hongdae, and that is going to be about $40 a day. So definitely really cheap compared to New York. In New York, you're not even getting like a hostel for that much.
And for food?
I'm a guy who eats a
That's
lot,
real.
but I eat like once or twice a day tops. So every single time I'm sitting down, I'm spending about 20 to 30,000 won. I've made a lot of friends here in my 1 week, and even when we split the bill, we're maybe about 15 to 20,000 won each. So I would consider that kind of cheap.
15 to 20,000 won is 11 to 15 US dollars. Don't get ahead of yourself thinking, oh man, I'm gonna be rich if I live in the US here. 11 to 15 dollars for food. I mean, that's comparative to a good chunk of US prices, right? I mean, depending on where you go. I live in Louisiana. Okay, I saw on one of these videos that there was a 2-piece from Popeyes in California for $17.99. So obviously, maybe I'm a little privileged to live in Louisiana, the land of no opportunities, where things are at least sometimes cheap. Don't forget about our 10% sales tax.
But Korean food is amazing, so I'm not afraid to spend a little bit more if it means I get to taste some authentic Korean food here in Korea.
How much do you think you need to live in Seoul?
Like just to live every day, maybe work 5 days a week, a 9 to 5, you probably need like 3 to 4,000, but then that's very comfortable, I would say. You're not doing anything crazy at that point. You're eating every day, you're paying your rent, you're saving some on the side. I really don't think you need more than, even as a traveler, $3,000 to $4,000 for a whole month, because I've been fine on just, at this point, like
That's not horrible, right? It's U.S. prices, but it's not great either. Again, I don't see the extreme appeal of the country. Y'all don't hate, don't hate, don't hate. I'll make another video in the future investigating Korea and learning about this place because I'm sure there's some great pool as to why people want to go to Korea and travel here so much. I just don't see it, especially when it comes to cost of living basis, as this being one of your priority destinations, unless you are personally like connected to Korean culture. If you're looking for a place with a good cost of living, because him talking about you just need $3,000 to $4,000, that's more than the vast majority of human beings on Earth are making.
About $1,500 for a little more than a week, and I'm out here kind of buying clothes, eating at nicer restaurants, staying at nicer places. So if you're kind of on the more moderate side and you want to save a little bit, you definitely don't need that much.
For, like your solo travelers, other solo travelers out there, like what are the tips, you can actually give them if they want to, like make a trip, like to Korea?
I think personally, I was really afraid of actually coming here to Seoul because I know that's an homogenous society. I'm darker, blonde hair, this kind of like the style. I know it's a more conservative country. I was definitely really afraid of that, but I love how the people, since the moment I got here, have actually welcomed that, and they like me because I'm different. So I would definitely say don't be afraid. People here are the
This is something big, right? I don't support the passport bros and their idea of, oh yeah, you're a black man in a country, you're going to get a bunch of women. But the reality is, black people in general are extremely fetishized, especially black people from the United States of America. And as a result, there is like a valuable uniqueness that exists within you when you travel around. Even me being from Louisiana and going to different places, despite not having a Louisiana accent to a high degree, there's a value in that. Women are more interested in it, and people in general are more interested in interacting with you because you clearly aren't from their place. It's a double-edged sword. You've got the advantage of not blending in, but you've also got the disadvantage of not blending in, which could make you a target in certain situations. I think that specifically, though, is a much bigger thing for Caucasian people who are traveling around, and a lot of them travel around so confidently. But I can see there being a target on their back just because there's an assumption that that's a white person, they've got some money. Of course, this isn't one of those countries because they're making good amount. It seems like you need to make a good amount to survive, so their citizens have to be making a good amount on a daily basis. But in certain countries, I can imagine that being Caucasian would come with some major targets being put on your back.
Nicest people I've met on earth, whether it's the hospitality, whether it's just tips, whether it's people helping me out. So I'm super thankful to the people of Korea for that. So definitely don't be afraid to just be a little outgoing, say hello, strike a conversation. The people here do speak really good English too, so the language barrier has never been an issue. Google Translate will definitely be your best friend. I think the food is great. I definitely think that if you come here with an open mind, you are going to have the time of your life. And you just need to have that positive mindset. Be willing to meet people. Be willing to just go out of your comfort zone. And I promise you will have an amazing time here in Seoul.
Could you guys briefly introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Raquel.
I'm Sage.
Where are you from?
Florida. Same Florida.
So today's question is, how expensive is it to live in Seoul?
Pretty inexpensive, I think, in bills.
Man, is he going to interview anybody not from the U.S.? Anybody from Seoul? Maybe these are just a bunch of travelers. Look, she's got a earthy necklace. I don't know if these people are going to give us the best.
Generally, like $200, but everyday stuff, like you can have a meal for like $2 if you really wanted to. Really inexpensive, like GS, super easy. Yeah, like it's not bad at all.
Agreed. I find that living in the States was way more expensive, especially like you have all those additional bills that here you have the public transportation. There's a lot that you end up saving rather than spending here.
I love your hair, by the way, though. Yeah, just like have to point that out. Can you give me like a brief, breakdown like of your price per week living in Seoul, like on food, transport, all that stuff?
Week transport, probably like 3,000 won. Maybe I do a lot of walking to and from work, so I don't have to do much on transportation. Food, it could be anywhere from maybe like $10 a meal to $2 a meal if I'm being lazy or not, if I want to cook every day, if I want to order in. So very inexpensive. Other stuff,
That is pretty
yeah,
good.
that's kind of it. I don't do too much spending personally, so
Like how much do you think you spend in a week?
like $50 maximum. Like that's like a bad week. Like I don't spend much.
How much do you spend on groceries?
150, and I can stretch that for 2.5 weeks.
I definitely spend more than her. I probably spend like 100 to 200.
Girl's a
week.
superhero.
But the groceries last a long time.
She's spending okay. So again, this is why I watch this video, right? To get a good idea of how much things actually cost. Oh boy from New York, Mr. New Jersey Shore, was spending $3,000 to $4,000, and he thinks that's the amount that you need. This girl is spending $50 a week, and of course she might have a roommate, this, that, or the other. Maybe her living situation is different. But I was hating on Miss Earth Necklace, but she's spending $50 a week in Korea. If that's possible, then that changes everything completely in terms of the potential cost to live in here.
So if I spend money on groceries, that lasts me for a while.
Where do you think most of your money actually go out on? Like what expense?
Probably like just shopping or going out at night, but I kind of try to keep that on the weekend.
I like shopping, so I normally buy like clothes and accessories, but other than that, it's the same as her. Like the weekend, like I'll drink on the weekend. I like going to cafes a lot, but all of that is super cheap, so it doesn't really add up.
How much do you think you need to live in Seoul?
I think you should save up money prior to coming here if you are a person that likes comfort in your
Always.
finances. Like me personally,
Always.
I made sure I had like $10,000 saved before I got here because I didn't want to come and not know what to expect. But if you came here with like a small amount of money, I think given some like discipline and like not going anywhere, you could be pretty comfortable if that was your situation. I think coming here and having to find your own place to live, that can be expensive, but minus those kind of expenses that maybe in the States that we're used to, like cars, insurance, all that kind of stuff, it's pretty affordable, I think.
Could you briefly introduce yourself?
My name is Dima. I am from Russia.
That
I live in
is, I
Seoul.
made a video on this. That is the most underrated thing. Being in a state, city, country, whatever, where you do not have to have a car and you don't have to worry a ton about transportation fees. And when you do want to travel or go somewhere, you take an Uber, which is affordable, or some affordable form of public transportation, and you go to the airport without having to drive and own a car. Cars are so expensive, and they're so required in the US if you want to be comfortable at all and travel around properly. But they're so expensive.
Oh, I'm a student here
How long have you been living in Seoul?
since October.
So today's question is, how expensive is it to live in Seoul?
If you compare it to Moscow, where I used to live, it's a little bit more cheap.
Can you give me like a quick price
Dang,
breakdown of like how much you pay
cheaper
for
than
rent
Moscow?
and like your food expense and all that?
For food, I would spend like 20,000 won per day. Monthly, it will be 600,000, maybe less. I live in a Gosha one, so it's like 400,000 per month. It depends on each
Dang.
month, like if I buy clothes or if I don't. Monthly, like $1,000.
If there's any one advice you can give to, like other foreigners, like once
Okay, he should have taken the New Yorker out of this, right? He should have taken the New Yorker out of this, because I was here about to cut Korea out, saying that it was an unaffordable place to live. Clearly, some people who are actually intelligent with their finances and don't have blonde hair are living pretty affordably in this.
think they need
in this
to
country.
live in Seoul, maybe for like a month, a week travel.
If you travel and you're gonna
Also, maybe it's because he doesn't speak Korean. He's not interviewing anybody from Korea. I'd like to get their opinion, but
stay here for like a month, you're probably gonna spend more than usual because you will need to do the experiences and like go out and stuff. So I think you will need like $2,000.
Where are you from and how long have you been living in Korea?
oh
am
my
Zayda.
gosh, bro, she's clearly not from Korea. Can we get some Koreans? Can we get some people who actually are from here? Yeah, maybe I'm making an assumption. Maybe this is a Korean individual we're about to learn from. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. His braids are sick, by the way.
I'm from the United States, and I've been in Korea for 2 weeks.
How expensive is it to live in Seoul?
I would say it's cheap compared to where I'm from in America. Things are much cheaper compared to where I'm from.
Where are you from again?
North Carolina, it's a city called Charlotte.
So can you break down like your week's expense here in Seoul?
Yeah, I can try my best. So I'm here as a student. I live in a dorm. So
They've
I've
got a
already-
lot of students. Is South Korea like one of those countries with free education? Is that why they have so many students? Because this is a lot of students. Obviously, he's interviewing all the people who look like they're from the U.S. or not from Korea, but
paid for my dorm, so I don't have any like rent or utilities or any expenses like that. I do pay for the subway, which I got here 2 weeks ago, and I think I've put $20 or $30 on my subway card, and I still have money left over. I would say the most expensive thing is food. When I go out, it normally costs me anywhere from like $7 to $10 to eat. I do also cook at home occasionally because I have a kitchen in the upstairs level of my building, and it's cheap to go to the convenience store. So I would say every time I go to the grocery store, it costs me around $30 to $40 for the week. When I eat out, it costs like $7 to $10. Unless I go to like a cafe and get like a drink and a dessert and all that, then it's more like $15.
And how much you pay for dorm?
Because I'm
so
staying
for her monthly cost in food is what, $40, $80, $160 per month if she were to just to go to the grocery store?
for 7 months. The full 7 months cost $4,000.
How much money do you think you need to live in Seoul?
I would say it depends on how long you're staying. If you're coming here without a job as a student, I would save at least for a 6-month period, at least $10,000 just to make sure that you can pay for everything that you need, like furniture if you need it, or other house like toilet paper, things like that, maybe comforters, and then obviously food.
Hey guys, if you want to afford toilet paper and comforters in Korea, you need $10,000. You need 10K. The toilet paper in Korea, food and transport. That's what she was about to say next. Oh, they're just so expensive. You need $10,000 if you're coming to Korea. Don't think about coming to Korea. If you don't have $10,000, you won't be able to get toilet paper, food, transport, or comforters. What's she on about?
Transport, but I think around $10,000 is a safe bet for like 6 or 7 months.
Could you briefly introduce yourself?
I'm Harry
I get what
from,
she's
from
saying.
England,
I get what she's
from a place called Bath.
How expensive is it to live in Seoul?
Oh, it's a lot cheaper compared to like London and that. Just going around like restaurants and that, I'm paying like half the price to what I would be in like London or Bath.
You've been
this
here for
made
5
during
days. Like,
COVID?
how much have you spent so far?
I don't know how much, but like for example, like a meal in London might cost like 25 quid, but here it's about like 15.
How much do you think you need to live in Seoul?
I don't know, I'm not too sure how much the house prices are. About 30 to 40k salary.
Where are you from and how long have you been living in Korea?
I'm French. I'm living here since 1 year.
Where in France are you from?
Bordeaux.
How expensive is it to live in
Bordeaux?
Seoul?
This is expensive for the house. House is really expensive.
I met a
So
girlfriend.
So how much do you pay for rent and what is the deposit?
I don't have deposits. I just found something without deposit. I'm a lucky girl. Just for a month, you can pay in dollar, maybe $500, just for 1 month and 1 room.
How much do you spend per week in Seoul? Can you just break it down for me?
If this is
Month to month is a lot more common in other countries. Again, one of the many problems in the United States of America comparative to other countries. You can actually find places that will just allow you to rent month to month. And they're okay or really good places, especially compared to the prices that you'd be paying in the US for them.
this is your first time in Seoul, maybe you can spend $500 and $800. But if you just live here since 1 year like me, in 1 month you can just spend $1,000.
How expensive?
That was a really cool video. His channel name is K Explorer. You have a good day. That was a really cool video. His channel name is K Explorer. You have a good day. Cool dude.